I'd like to call the meeting to order. Thank everyone for coming out of your busy week to help us out. First thing on the agenda will be called to order. A declaration of conflicts of interest. Any? Hearing none. We'll move on to the approval of the agenda. Approval of agenda for Monday, June 7th, today's date. Want to at this time?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Could I just add 9 Paramount Drive
Yes.
to the agenda?
Yep.
It should be on your desk. It's a lot consolidation and it's in the business park off the north side of the Terry Highway.
Okay. So are you moving that?
Yes, I'm just moving.
Moved by Mayor Brown, seconder for that particular edition. Seconded by Bobby Kenny. Any further discussion on the issue of adding that Law Consolidation application to the agenda? Hearing none. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carried 7-0. Okay. That's the agenda. Did we vote on the agenda itself? No. Do I have a mover for the agenda? Councillor Yankoff moves the agenda, seconded by Chris Fournier. Further discussion? Having none. All those in favor? All those opposed? 7-0. Thank you. Adoption of the minutes. The minutes of Tuesday, May the 25th, 2021. Have a chance to review the minutes. I assume everything is in order. Do I have a mover of the minutes? Councillor Yankoff, second by Basil Hambley. Let the minutes be approved as presented. Further discussion? None. All those in favor? All those opposed? Passed 7-0. Thank you. Reports. We have 4 of an identical nature, almost identical, I guess, in the temporary patio division. We have one that's request to reduce the minimum flanking yard setback, and we now have 2 lot consolidation applications, one by the city and one by the one that Mayor Brown just put forward. So, without any further ado, Robert Silke, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as the chair pointed out, the first couple of applications before you tonight involves 4 properties located within the city. This is basically an identical approval, I think, from last season. So basically there was an application that was made by the identical businesses, save and except for Upstreet Brewery, to expand patios into required parking spaces on a temporary use, on a temporary basis, just to comply with social distancing requirements. So nothing has really changed from last year's application to this year's application. So one thing I will note though is that I'll just kind of run through an overview of each of the properties, and then the planning board can then get into issuing a resolution for each individual property, perhaps at the end, just to be easier. Each property will require a separate resolution because it's an individual property, and there's particular conditions, and that would be the number of parking spots that would be taken away for the temporary patios. So without further ado, the first one's 131 Sydney Street. It was just a variance to utilize 3 existing parking spaces for an outdoor patio for the 2021 season. So here it is here, as you can see, it's a little Dublin pub. And they actually have structures already located in the ground floor there. And it's for temporary patios, so you can see that's the property there. The next one is 330 University Avenue, and that's again for 3 required parking spaces to be reduced for temporary patio. That's for the Korean restaurant that's located in the Strip Plaza at that location. And there you can see it, 3 parking spots that will be removed. Then the third is 70 Grafton Street, so Pilot House. They're also proposing on removing only 2 parking spaces for outdoor patio. Essentially that's the Pilot House there, and they're proposing to remove these parking spaces at the front just to increase their outdoor dining space. And then the one that's new for this season is 101 Longworth Ave. That's Red Island Cider. They are looking at reducing as well as 2 parking spaces and a loading bay entrance. to expand a temporary patio. Now, one thing that I will note, the owner stated that the temporary patio is temporary, very much so. So whenever they get deliveries through their loading bays, they'll quickly disassemble the temporary structure, put it to the side, and then reassemble it during times that they hold events. And that's kind of the drawing there. These are 2 parking spaces here, and then of course they want to coordinate off this area as well to increase their outdoor patio, and that's just the loading bay. So as I stated before, planning department has no issues. We recommend approval of all variances for temporary structures in order to allow these businesses to expand their patios. And like I stated earlier, we would just have to go through a resolution for each property because it would change depending on the number of parking spaces to be removed. And I can take any questions. Thank you.
So, do we want a question in order of presentation was made, like the first one being the collateral room, Old Dublin Pub, and settle the resolution and then move on to number 2 with the same thing?
I would say that's quite easy.
Do we have any questions on the Colada House, Old Dublin Pub application? Having none, do I have a mover of that particular? Moved by Councillor Yankoff, seconded by Councillor McCabe. Further discussion on that particular location?
If anyone
Yes?
has not seen what Sydney Street has done, it's beautiful. If anyone has been down to see
Good.
what they did last summer, they did such a good job. I was disappointed that you didn't have the photo from last year, but it's so nice. They did a fantastic job.
Thank you. Okay, you ready for the question? All those in favor of the collateral room, Dublin Pub? All those opposed?
Aye.
Passes 7-0. Oh, I'm sorry, Rosemary.
Mike, I wanted to let you know I'm here. It's Rosemary.
Yes, sorry, Rosemary. Okay, yeah, do you have any objections to the, no, we're okay. Did we had a vote on, which one?
131.
131. Do you have an objection to the affirmative vote on 131?
No, I don't.
Okay.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Of all the decks that were approved last year, were there any complaints or anything from residents in the area?
I haven't personally seen any complaints that were lodged against any of these properties myself.
And as council for the area, I heard nothing. Good.
And we've received like pretty much letters of support for the majority of the applications for tonight. So.
Okay. So, we've had the vote.
Yes?
It's 8-0 now with Rosemary's vote. So we move on to the second, which was the Pilot House or Soul Food?
Soul Food.
Soul Food. Is there any questions from anyone on the application made by Soul Food on University Avenue? Okay, somebody want to move that? Moved by Councillor Yankoff, seconded by Councillor McCabe, that Soul Food's application for temporary patio be approved. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? All those opposed? Rosemary?
I'm in favor.
8-0. Thank you. The third one being the Pilot House, right? Pilot House, any discussion on that? Any issues, concerns, suggestions? Hearing none. Do I have a mover? Moved by Bob Kenny, seconded by Chris Fournier. Any further discussion? No discussion. All those in favor? All those opposed? Rosemary?
In favor.
8-0. Thank you. And the final one is the Red Island Cider
Correct.
on Longwood Avenue, 101
Down by the
Longwood
old
Avenue.
jail.
Pardon?
Down by the old jail.
Very close to the old jail. Any concerns or suggestions, issues with that particular application? Hearing none, do I have a mover? Moved by Shallon, seconded by Councillor Yankoff, that the 101 Red Island Cider be approved. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carried. Rosemary?
Yes, in favor.
8-0. That's it? Mr. Rick, okay. Thank you very much. Moving on to the next application is 57 Birch Hill Drive. And Robert, you're on the mat again.
Thank you. So tonight is a major variance for flankage yard setback requirement. I will note that the flankage yard requirement is 6 meters, about 20 feet. So a flankage yard is basically a side yard that faces a street. So it's basically a corner lot with the side facing abutting the two streets. And so they are requesting a variance reduction from 6 meters to 4.2 meters in order to allow for the existing structure to remain. And I will get into some of the history on this. One thing to note is this is the subject property here in Sherwood. It's located on the corner lot, Shamrock Drive being the flankage yard that the accessory structure sits on this side here, and then Bird Hill Drive loops around there. So similar to all the properties surrounding it, it's R1L, so single detached dwelling, permits accessory structures. Just to get into some history of it, the department approved a permit for an attached garage. So at the time, the applicant submitted plans to actually have the garage attached to the main structure. During the construction phase, however, the garage was not attached to the main structure, as you can see. That's the accessory building right there. That's being applied for the variance. So it was not constructed to be attached to the main building, so it remained as a detached accessory structure. The department received a complaint in September of 2020 from a nearby property owner regarding the nature of construction, how it was not attached but rather detached. And so the building inspector went out to complete their final inspections and did confirm that the structure was in fact detached. From that, staff followed up with the applicant to request the final grading plan, which is also a survey plan, in order to confirm the actual setback dimension of the accessory structure in relation to all remaining setbacks, so the flankage yard, front yard, rear yard, and the distance from the main dwelling. So at that time, the only setback that the accessory structure was not conforming with was the flankage yard. So that's the application for the variance. And so this is the survey plan that the applicant submitted here. So again, it's Birch Hill and Shamrock. This is the structure here. I will note that there is a considerable right-of-way that the city does own. So it doesn't go right to property line here. So that's 4.2 meters. And then you're looking at another probably 4 to 4.5 meters of the right-of-way. That's all sodded and grassed. So when we circulated the application, we received 3 letters of support from surrounding property owners and then 1 letter of objection. The objection letter noted that there was a second accessory building on the property, and in fact the second accessory building was located in approximately this area within the front yard. So that's not allowed or permitted within the zoning bylaw. And there was potential an issue with the existing fence constructed in the rear yard. Upon inspection, the inspector didn't find or note that the fence wasn't large in height or too large in height to warrant any type of action. So when we're looking at the zoning bylaw requirements, we do have a section here that does state that any accessory building cannot be located closer to the front lot line, and then when it's a corner lot line, no closer to the flankage yard than the minimum setback requirement, which is 6 meters. The other thing too is that we do have a size calculation for accessory structures, and this was before planning board back in May. Where gross floor area of accessory buildings are subtracted from parking area, mechanical rooms, anything like that. So in fact, this garage is mainly used for parking. So when we were taking a look at whether the applicant would be over the maximum allowable size for accessory structures for the size of his property, which is 750 square feet, we deduced that if we use the terminology and the language in the zoning bylaw, the definition of gross floor area for accessory building, he would still be able to maintain that second accessory building, because he would not be breaching that maximum 750 square feet coverage for accessory building coverage. So basically from that perspective, that second accessory building can be remained, but it can't remain where it is. So if the owner wishes to keep that second accessory building, he would either have to relocate in the rear or side yard, as where the bylaw regulations does state it must go to. And again, yes, this was a situation where we had a deviation from the initial building permit, where the department approved plans for an attached accessory structure. However, saying that and providing an independent planning analysis with that not in mind, staff doesn't see any real issues with approving this variance due to the fact that he's maintaining at least 4 meters of setback, and then there's that other right-of-way that's also provides another 4.5 meters to the street. So staff would recommend approval of the variance, subject that either the second accessory building be relocated to either the side or rear lot of the property, or removed from the property entirely. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. I went to visit this place yesterday, as I do all of them, just to see the picture's worth 1,000 words. We can't have the 6-foot limitation on fencing anymore, do we? Was that removed from the bylaw?
We still do have a minimum of 6 feet within, for fencing.
A maximum?
Our maximum,
Yeah.
requirement of 6 feet in fencing, yes, we do have that.
I would estimate that fence to be 8 feet.
8 feet.
Yeah.
We do have allow for some provisions where you can increase that,
Yeah.
subject, but again, that's,
Yeah. And that secondary building that you're speaking of there, the one that's there presently, not only is it in the front yard, I'd say it's very close to the lot line too. It's very close.
correct. So when I was out there as well, I did notice that the accessory building, where I was showing the approximate location, it's closer to being
Yeah.
right along this adjacent property
Yeah,
line.
the left-hand side of it.
Correct, to the adjacent neighbor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the final thing is the little trouble with, you're supposed to have it attached, the existing garage to the house, but little trouble with compliance there, like,
No, he did receive final inspections from the
Yeah.
building inspector,
Yeah.
and so the inspector was fine in how it was constructed, meeting the requirements.
Yeah.
So really, the only thing that stops us from issuing occupancy on that structure is just the approval of the variance.
Yeah.
And the owner is here if you would like to talk to him.
Okay. First, we'll see if any councillors would like to talk to Mr. Zilke.
I have a question.
Councillor Yankoff.
So the fence is, I was out there too, the fence is definitely higher than 6 feet. So did he get, I know that from building a fence myself, that higher than 6 feet, you need to get,
Correct.
apply for a permit. So did he apply for a permit for the
No,
fence?
he did not receive a permit for a fence.
Okay, so non-compliant from that too. And so the original permit that he applied for was for an attached garage?
Correct.
And my third observation is, are you giving him a timeline, or she, or they, whoever that person might be, to have the building moved?
Yeah, so essentially, before we issue occupancy on the garage, which he's waiting for, that structure would have to be removed before we issue that.
So while he's waiting for occupancy, that garage is actually empty right now?
Well, technically, it doesn't have occupancy for a particular use. Say he did win to sell his property, right? Like there would be an outstanding order situated on his property. So that would, if someone received a legal letter to check compliance, that would show up in our system and we would bring that forward. So there is some leverage the department does have in order to ensure that the second garage is relocated or removed.
So it's one of those, and this is my last observation, so it's one of those situations that was applied for, they did it totally different, but there's no fine or anything, we just kind of approve it.
So there is, because technically he did receive a permit, so we can't charge him work without a permit, because he did apply through the permit process. It was just he deviated from the original plans. We don't have a penalty per se right now for that, so that would, yeah, there would be no penalty as of now for that deviation.
Maybe that should be a topic, Councillor Yankoff, for our committee meeting.
Indeed.
We keep bringing it
Well,
up. Some
yeah.
defense ticketing.
So
We
that's
get
as long
that
as I
later.
get a
It's with
permit,
another office, isn't
you-
it, Alex?
Hmm?
It's with another office down the other corner.
We're working on it with the legal department.
Okay, noted. Anyone else have anything? Basil?
Chair, is there enough room to move the second accessory building onto the property? And still, I guess is one question, and if it is, then does he get a document saying where he has to put it?
Oh, yes, that's correct. So he would still have to apply through a permit process. If he wants to maintain that second accessory building on the property, like anything else, he would have to submit a permit to show the location of where he's assigned to move it, or he has to just relocate it if he doesn't wish to receive a permit.
Right.
And I think that would also be a great question too for the property owner, since he is here. But I do believe there is space like on that side, the north side of the side yard there, the interior side yard. But again, good question to ask him.
Okay, do we want to have the applicant in for a chat? Do you want to summons them, Robert?
Councillor Duffy?
Yes.
Do we have a committee meeting coming up?
I don't know, Mr. Forbes, do we have committee?
Not today, but.
No, I know not today.
But we can assemble the committee whenever we want.
Yeah.
Sure. Do you have that and something else or just that?
Yeah. The STRs, to see what we're doing with that, so
Yeah.
that's something we're going to committee.
Sure, we could arrange that, could we?
Sure. And just an update on the summary events taken.
Yeah. 3 items.
Right here.
Mr.
Hi there.
Snowy.
How are you?
Oh,
Fine, how are you, Mr. Snowy? Welcome.
Thank you.
You wanted to make some points?
Yes,
Go ahead, the floor is yours.
want to make some points. The points to me are the building's going to be moved, the second accessory building. We were planning on attaching the garage. We did run into some financial difficulties. We never did it. Our neighbors knew that we were supposed to attach it. I know that he was the one who called. He called. And we didn't do any walkway or anything beside the building or the house because we were planning on doing this when we could. And then I talked to the planning board and I talked to the inspector and he said I might be able to put in an application to keep it as a single dwelling building. So that's where I'm at right now. The little building will probably be either moved into the backyard or it'll be sold. It'll be one of the two. And if I have to move it, then I will have to go get a permit to move it and put it in a specific place, I guess, in the yard, from what I've seen on the monitor and stuff.
Okay.
So that's where I'm at. I hope it goes through. I don't really have anything else other to say. I don't know.
Councilor Yankoff?
I must say your property is as neat as a pin. It does look really nice.
Yes,
So
I know.
I will be supporting this. I mean, it does look fantastic. What was the reasoning for the 8-foot fence versus 6?
Well, I phoned about that as well, and there was no permit for the fence. And I talked to somebody, and they said I could go up to 8 feet as long as it wasn't in my front yard area. But where that fence is, I guess it really is considered my front yard. I don't know, but I don't understand the flankage in the front yard perspective. But and another reason is because of my neighbor, there was junk. Old cars around there all the time. We've had many complaints into the city about it. And the fence always makes a good neighbor as far as I'm concerned with the problem. So
Thank you very much.
that's where we're at with everything. So
Okay, anyone else? Issues or?
Can I just ask?
Yeah,
one?
sure.
Mike, so is it the neighbor to the
it's right
to the east?
It's directly behind the garage.
Yeah, 4 Shamrock Drive.
Yes, you have it.
Right.
Yes.
So you have the fence there, and then the other building that's on the north side, you're gonna move that back?
I'm either gonna
Will that back onto his yard, 4 Shamrock Drive?
no, that will back into that'll be in my yard, but it'll be in my backyard. I call it my backyard.
Right.
But it's basically the side yard of the house where the house structure is.
Right, but his backyard runs parallel to your side yard, if you wanna call it that.
Yes.
So you gotta.
He's not gonna be, it'll be nowhere near his yard. It'll be 6 to 8 feet from the fence line. So, but I would like to just get rid of it, period. because I don't like the look of it there either myself, but we had to put somewhere for storage while we were doing the garage, blah, 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 time goes on. So,
Okay, thank you. No more suggestions of issues? Okay, Mr. Snow, if you want to wait out by the monitor, you can see how the vote goes. And
okay,
see-
awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming in. Okay, folks, are we ready for a resolution?
I'll move that we support it.
Moved by Councilor Yankoff. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Chris Fournier, that the application of 57 Birch Hill Drive be approved, or recommended to council for approval. Any further discussion on the issue?
Again, Mr. Chair, I just want to reiterate the point, we have to get this summary offense
Yes.
taking system
Yes.
in place. It's difficult for the planners to, or the inspectors to enforce any of our bylaws, and we've been talking about this for the
Yeah.
last year, and I don't think we're reinventing the wheel for this issue. There are templates all over the country.
Yeah, could we have a meeting, say the
Thanks.
first of next week on those administrative deals?
Yeah.
Issues, I should say. Okay, but I understand.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, are we ready for the question? Are you okay, Rosemary?
And Mike, does the motion include the removal of the second smaller accessory structure?
Yes.
Not the removal, you can
just-
either.
The removal, you mean removal from the property?
The removal of it,
It's
yes.
either got to be moved so it's in a legal position, or it's got to be removed from the property entirely.
Yes.
Yeah,
I just want to be sure that the motion includes that
Okay,
recommendation.
okay.
as opposed
You
to
hear that, Ellen?
recommendations. Yeah,
yeah, Ellen has it.
thank you.
Okay, you ready for the question? All those in favor of the application? Rosemary?
In favor?
Okay, all those opposed? Or which way are you, Councillor? In favor. So I believe it is 8-0 score. Thank you very much. Moving on to number 6 in the agenda, 12 McAleer Drive. Mr. Robert Zilke, you're doing yeoman service tonight.
All right, so this application is for a lot consolidation. It's actually a 3-lot consolidation, and it's City of Charlottetown's property. It's specifically the Public Works Garage, located on 12 McAleer Drive. So I kind of just highlighted here the lots that are in play. So this is technically 12 McAleer Drive. This lot here is lot 98-A, so it hasn't been assigned a civic because since it's owned by the City of Charlottetown, it's kind of seen as 12 McAleer Drive, but it's still technically a separate and individual parcel. One thing that you will note is that the property line actually cuts down through half of the Public Works Garage. You know, not something that would be permitted today, certainly. And another positive attribute of consolidating the lots. Also, there is an existing lot located at 275 Brackley Point Road, up through here. Currently, it's being used for outside storage by Public Works, but they are proposing, if the lot consolidation goes through, to construct a second works garage with parking. So this would effectively, if the lot consolidation were approved, this is basically what the new lot would look like. So it would have frontage on Brackley Point Road, as well as its existing frontage and access on McAleer Drive. There is a proposal for access off Brackley Point Road as well. So for any workers that would be working in this garage or even this one here, there'd be surface parking located at the front. So looking at the analysis of lot consolidation, and one thing that I will note is that going back to the zoning map here, everything in pink is technically M3, which is business park industrial. Anything in the dark gray is M2, which is heavy industrial. Staff is recommending the lot consolidation be granted, but we are not recommending that that this lot or this lot be rezoned. That's just to ensure that the continuity of the existing land-based zoning along Brackley Point Road maintains the M3 Business Park Industrial zone and maintain these lots here to being M2 heavy industrial, as it is the most compatible use for the surrounding uses and lands adjacent to it. So we are recommending that that consolidation happen, but a rezoning not occur. So, and it is possible you can have a property with split zones. There's no issues with that. We just find that it would just we would not recommend introducing, say, like a heavy industrial use, which would be considered spot rezoning along Brackley Point Road. Similar, we wouldn't want a spot rezoning of an M3 and an M2 area. So, looking at 12 Maclear Drive, lot 98A, basically there's it's an existing public works garage and warehouse. It's adjacent to very similar uses in the surrounding area, like Superior Propane, and there's like even some construction yards that are located to the west. For 275 Brackley Point Road, that portion of the lot is situated between Sherwood Motel, which is technically legal non-conforming. So under the M3 zone today, you wouldn't be able to construct a motel, but because the motel's been there for decades, it can continue to exist as a legal non-conforming use. As well as the call center that's located on the other side of that as well. So a call center is still permitted in the M3 zone because it would be considered an office type use. So this is the proposed building on 275 Brackley Point Road. So that portion of the lot, Public Works would be constructing this structure as a second Public Works building, and as I stated before, with surface parking in the front and also in the rear. So we recommend that the Law Consolidation be approved, subject that a final pin survey be submitted to ensure that the lots are indeed consolidated and clean it all up. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of Robert? Councillor McKay.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. I'm just wondering, so has there been conversations like with your hotel, the motel owners and stuff, and doesn't look like we have to do any public consultation or anything, that they know that this is kind of what's in the works?
Like I said earlier, they are aware of, like Public Works currently uses this for outside storage, so they're aware that there is that component that's adjacent to them. But yes, you're correct. Circulation wasn't required because it's not a consolidation of the residential properties rather than it's industrial. So I don't know how much that the Sherwood Motel would be aware of at least the proposed second Public Works garage.
Sherwood Motel's that other one on top, is it?
Correct. So
oh, okay.
This would be and then this would be the call intact, the call center here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's technically a legal non-conforming use because it wouldn't be permitted today in the M3 zone.
Okay. Anyone else? Questions for Mr. Silky? Hearing none, do I have a mover of a resolution for recommendation to council? Been moved by Basil Hanley. Seconder, do I have a seconder? Seconded by Shallon. That the request of the City of Charlottetown of Law Consolidation be recommended to council for approval. Any further discussion on the issue? Hearing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? Rosemary?
In favor.
8-0. Thank you. The next one is 9 Paramount Drive. We just have received the material tonight. Do you people require any time to read over the package that was on your desk tonight? Or would you like Mr. Forbes to go right into the issue?
Mike, it's Rosemary, and I don't have the information.
Oh,
so I
yes,
would
sorry.
like to review
Yeah.
it.
Sorry about that, Rosemary.
Yeah, no problem.
It's quickly, the first paragraph is Planning and Heritage Department encourages Planning Board to recommend to Council to approve the request for a lot consolidation of 9 Paramount Drive, the PID numbers, subject to a PIN final survey and a new perimeter deed description being registered with the province describing the outer boundaries of the consolidated parcels. So it's a truck repair garage that they're looking to erect there. That's the basis of the whole thing. Mr. Forbes will probably expand on that. But I'm sorry with that, Rosemary.
That's fine, Mike.
Would you like 2 minutes to peruse it, folks, or do you want Mr. Forbes to explain? I think maybe a couple of minutes, Alex. Yes.
While we're just waiting for this, have we had the committee meeting yet on the signage?
Yes, we don't need a committee meeting. It's been recommended public consultation.
Okay, great, yes,
Yeah.
all right, that's for in 2 weeks' time. And
Pardon?
that's public meeting.
Yeah,
Okay, right, thank you.
yeah. Yeah. Everybody okay? All right. Mr. Ford, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is an application by Mr. Philip Lanigan on behalf of King Truck Repair, and he's just applying to consolidate 2 lots in the light industrial zone on Paramount Drive. And it's to accommodate 2-story multi-bay service garage with office space and surface parking. Again, it's fairly straightforward. There's the lots right there. It does back onto the trail. There are provisions about the distance of the future building on that in relation to the trail, which is taken into account. It will be picked up as a part of his building permit. But again, it is relatively straightforward, and with that, I would indicate that staff are prepared to support the application. He does have the building permit in as well. That's the status of this application.
Thank you. He is not here, the applicant is not here. Not outside, is he? No, no. Okay, any questions of Mr. Forbes? Fairly straightforward, I assume.
What are,
Yes.
can I ask a question?
Bob.
What are the properties that surround this? What do they consist of?
Well, this is M1 here on either side. That is a residential neighborhood in behind, but there's the trail that separates them. The trail is quite wide there. And again, I mean, it's, people, I think people likely bought the lots. People in this room would likely know, but people likely moved into this after the park was created. So it's not as though these people in here don't realize the land use. This has nothing to do with land use. It just has talked about this lot being added to that lot. So the land use can't or won't change.
And Bob, if you follow that Paramount Drive to the south, that's where the Red Cross facility is.
Okay.
And then just around to the east is the Supreme building, the prefab buildings. It's probably owned by, I think it's the development that was developed by
Yeah, there's a building sitting on the
Okay.
lot. I didn't realize that we were that sophisticated. This was a last minute submission. Surprised myself.
Anyone else with concerns or suggestions, issues, or? Okay, do I have a mover of recommendation to approve, I assume, or recommend approval to City Council? Do I have a mover? Moved by Mayor Brown, seconded by Bobby Kenny. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? All those opposed? Rosemary?
I'm going to abstain, Mike, because I don't have the documentation and it was just hard to hear some of the
Okay,
conversation.
all right. Well, abstention of your vote really counts as a yes according to the MGA, so it will go down
Oh,
as...
does it? Oh, yeah. It's hard when you don't have the documentation.
Yeah, I understand, I understand.
Yeah.
So we will record it as 8-0. Thank you, Rosemary. Okay, that's it for that. Moving on to the introduction of new business, I guess I should have announced earlier. Mr. Forbes has a few administrative details that he wants to inform the members of the board of. It's all yours.
Well, look, it's been no secret that we've been looking for planning staff, so it never rains but it pours, but we've been able to hire 2 people in the last week. They're on 2-year contracts, but I can't tell you how helpful that's going to be in regard to the phone calls you folks get, phone calls I get. It'll level out the workflow, and it can't come sooner. And one of these people, the official plan review is coming, and there's that person is being sort of targeted to help out in that regard as well. But it's just a matter of we've been without Greg Morrison since last December, and it's been busy in there. So again, if people call you and say something's delayed, say, well, call me if you need to, but hopefully we can stabilize this busyness that we've had in the department, at least with the amount of staff we have to manage it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Forbes.
Great news.
That is our business of the day today. Thank you very much again for coming. Thank you to Robert. Thank you to Alex for your presentations. Do we have a mover to adjourn? A move by Bobby Kenny, second by Councilor Yankoff, that this committee meeting of the planning board is now adjourned. Thank you very much. All those